for that message. And we're live now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the decision days of myself, the Executive Lead Member for Children's Services and the Executive Member for Education. These decision days are being broadcast in one session live on YouTube via the County Council website. So there's quite a long agenda today, so if we go straight into the agenda. So agenda item 1 is the Department for Work and Pensions Household Support Fund, April 2025 to March 2026. And Phil, you're presenting this report for us.
Indeed, yes. Thank you, Councillor Chad. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to run through the key points of the report. I won't go through it line by line. And at the end, I'll hand back to Councillor Chad for any queries and for the recommendations. So the Department for Work and Pensions extended the Household Support Fund for a 7th round to support vulnerable households between April 2025 and March 2026. Hampshire County Council has been allocated £12.6 million from this fund, and this report seeks approval to spend the full allocation on a programme of support running to March 2026. The DWP guidance sets out the primary objective of the fund is to provide crisis support to vulnerable households in most need, with the cost of essentials, energy, water bills, food and wider essentials. However, in this round, the guidance also identifies a secondary objective, and that's to provide preventative support that prevents households from falling into or falling further into crisis. This can include providing supplementary advice services, join up between services and any support with the aim of providing longer term and sustainable solutions. As in previous rounds, the fund is intended to support a wide range of low-income households in need, and this includes families with children, pensioners, disabled individuals, unpaid carers, care leavers, single-person households, larger families, and those struggling with one-off financial shocks or unforeseen events. Across all the schemes, it's estimated that approximately 380,000 instances of support will be provided to households. That's an average of £33 of support per instance. That, of course, varies depending on the scheme. In line with guidance, the Hampshire County Council proposal will deliver the fund through a combination of direct grants to third-party organisations and County Council-led initiatives. The proposed funding breakdown will be allocated just under 62% of Hampshire County Council funding will go towards crisis support. A fraction under 21% will go to preventative support, and 12% will go to schemes that fall into both categories. Examples of that include community pantries and food support schemes and a delegated community grants allocation. This does represent a shift from the previous round where 75% of the support went towards the crisis element. The previous rounds, similar to those, this provision includes grants available for local organisations to apply for food and fuel poverty schemes, and that element is to the tune of 500,000. There is 69,000 for advice schemes and £1.1 million for sustaining and expanding the community pantry and food support network. And that comes with a request for delegated authority to be given to the Director of Children's Services to award grants in respect of those initiatives in accordance with the grant criteria and in consultation with the Executive Lead Member. I'll now hand back to Councillor Chad for any questions and the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I personally don't have any questions on this report. I think it's a really well written report, and thank you for presenting it today. These grants are so welcomed by the organisations and by the communities that are in receipt of them. And that 380,000 number is a real significant number, and that's huge to think that we're having that impact on that many instances of support in that respect. I don't know if any other members have got any questions or comments they wish to make on this item. That's the Forster.
Yeah, just very briefly, I wanted to just comment. A lot of the delivery of this is done through our partners, the districts and boroughs, who have worked with us really closely, and I'd just like to commend the officers, both at Hampshire and in the districts and boroughs. There will be some changes, but really positive to see the food pantries So I'm totally supportive of this, and it's really good to see it going ahead.
Councillor Forster. So as there's no other questions or comments, if I take everyone to the recommendations, and they start on page 6 and it's section 4 to 10, I'm going to take them on bulk because otherwise you'd be listening to me for ages. I'm happy to approve recommendations 4 to 10 of this paper, and look forward to seeing some of the work that's done actually with these grants as they get allocated. So thank you again, Phil, for stepping in today. I really appreciate it. And I hope that we have many organisations that are listening in at some point and are pleased with the outcome of this paper today.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much. Item 2 on the agenda is Children's Services Capital Programme. And Richard, you're going to present this report today.
Thank you, Councillor Chad. Yes, this is an update on the Children's Services Capital Programme. Fundamentally, it's setting out our to position for the 24-25 programme and amendments to the 25-26 programme. You will see there are a number of recommendations. I won't go through them all, set out in paragraphs 2 to 10. The ones I would touch on are the first recommendation at para 2, which shows that the cash limit of the 24-25 programme was £75.81 million at year end. That the proposed cash limit for the 25-26 programme is now £121.146 million. So that's the carry forward from 24 into 25. The other recommendation I would just touch on is recommendation 3 at para 4, which is a recommendation to approve funding up to the value of £52 million for the North Whiteley scheme. The reason we have sought an adjustment to that is we are concluding work with the contractors on the contract sum and want to be in a position to let that contract once that work is complete in the next few weeks. So therefore it's a slightly unusual ask, an up to figure, but we're confident that we can contain the contract sum up to that figure with an ambition to come in below it. I think in terms of other points I would just pick out in terms of excuse me, para 13, that we now do the capital programme in terms of an expenditure basis and not a starts basis. We started doing that since January, so it's a slightly different format to the report, but lets everyone see where and when our expenditure occurs, as opposed to just seeing it in 1 year and then not seeing it again, because obviously schemes do cross financial years, and by doing this we can follow the funding across those financial years as the schemes progress. Para 15 just confirms that we have received announcements from the Secretary of State for Education around basic need. The important bit there to note is that that our funding for 25-26 in terms of basic needs set out at para 17 was £22.245 million. That was as expected, given our annual return to the DFE. That said, para 18 confirms that we are not receiving any basic need allocations for 26-27 or 27-28. Again, that was expected, and you will recall in the January capital programme, we allowed for zero allocation. The reason being that we have zero allocation is we are holding funds from previous basic need allocations. So therefore we have an agreement with the DFE that they won't recoup these funds. They'll allow us to carry the funds forward until such time as we need them, because they are all linked to schemes that will happen in the future. We are expecting basic need allocations again from 28-29 subject to requirements. So, well, it sometimes that's seen as a disappointing position to be in. Actually, it's a fair reflection of the situation and not one we have an issue with. Para 21 sets out our allocation of high needs capital. That's to support our ongoing SEN work. That was £22.867 million. That's formulaic, and that was what we worked out we would receive, and that is the amount we have received. So again, a positive and good news story that we've received that funding allows us to continue that critical work in terms of SEN investment. They're just the other bits I would pick out really, excuse me, are in terms of social care at Paras 26 and 27. As I mentioned in the January capital report, we are facing significant arse in terms of investment into children's social care. This is enable children to remain at home and to be cared for by their parents. So this is adaptation works. If we were unable to continue this work, those children would have to come into care, which would be a far more expensive option for us and the wrong option. So what we're seeking to do there is to increase the allocation within 25-26 by £500,000 to meet the increased demand that we're seeing coming through the system. That will enable us to do the works we are expecting to be requested throughout the course of this financial year. As I touched on, Paras 30 to 33 just set out the North Whiteley situation, which is that up to spend limit. I think, Councillor Chad, that's most probably all I need to say in terms of that report.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for the report and presenting today. It's really good to see this capital programme report. It really does show the investment that we make into children's services in Hampshire. Thank you for highlighting the children's services care and the adaptations. I do think that's an area where we do need to keep an eye on, because you're absolutely right. If we can help and support families and children to stay in their homes through adaptations, then that's absolutely the right thing to do, because the last thing we would want is for those children to come into care because of something that could ultimately be improved within where they live, something physical. Really pleased to be able to have this paper today. I don't know if there's any questions or comments from any of the members online. We've got a couple. No, fantastic. So if I take us to page 29, where the recommendations start and they finish on page 30, and it's sections 2 to 10, and I'm happy to approve all of those recommendations today, and just being mindful that we do need to keep an eye on that, the children's services area and the adaptations going forward, just to make sure that we have significant funding to do that in the future as well. So thank you very much, Richard, for your report today on that one. And I think you're next on the list as well. So for Pennington Infant School and Pennington Church of England Junior School, proposed amalgamation.
Yeah, I might slightly dominate the next few minutes, Councillor Chad. Yes, this is the report on the outcome of the statutory public consultation on the proposed amalgamation of Pennington Infant School and Pennington Junior School in Lymington. The recommendation being that you approve their amalgamation through the technical closure of the infant school and an expansion of the age range of the junior school, with effect from the 1st of January 2026. We consulted on the amalgamation of these two schools following a request from the school governing bodies. The schools are located on a singular site and currently operate under the management of a single head teacher and single leadership team. They have in recent years suffered with low numbers, and we have on a number of occasions reduced their PAN. We've stabilised their current published admission numbers to 30, and the proposed primary school would have a PAN of 30 should the recommendation be endorsed. What we would seek to do is relocate the infant school into the junior school. It's a Church of England junior school, and the diocese is supportive of this proposal. We only had one response to the statutory consultation period, and that was a letter of support from a local secondary school. It's the right and proper thing to do for that community and stabilises provision going forward. It's worth noting there is a nursery on the site, and it is our intention to maintain that nursery provision on that site. We will relocate it on the site because it's currently on the part of the site that the infant school is located on, and there is a purpose-built building that we can locate it to adjacent to the new primary school provision. So I think that's all that most probably needs to be said in terms of that report, Councillor Chad. It's a positive position to be in, supported by the community, supported by the local schools, and it gives us an opportunity to look at the vacant school building for other educational use, which is what we're also doing.
Perfect, thank you, and thank you for clarifying about looking at the vacant school for other educational purposes. I think that's always worthwhile to know, and something that we always strive to do with any when any property becomes available. I think with this report, the fact it's come from the governing body and the school, it really does support the community. It's got community backing in regards to this. It does stabilise that provision in the area going forward, and the fact that the nursery is maintained, so be it at a slightly different location to where they currently are, but still on site and still within the perimeter of the school, and still being able to serve the local community is brilliant. Councillor Baines, you have a question or a comment about this one?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Chad. I'm really supportive of this recommendation as well, and I just wanted to put on record my thanks to Richard for, during our briefing the other day, giving me the reassurance that strong support is going to be provided for the staff that are potentially going to be redeployed at the school, and also reiterated the importance of strong communication on the future of the site in Pennington for the benefit of local residents. So just wanted to put that on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about this agenda item? Okay, so if I take us to page 51, where the recommendations are, and it's section 2 to 3, and I'm very happy to approve both of those recommendations today. Thank you. And then next we have Richard again with Orchard Lee Infant School and Orchard Lee Junior School and the proposed amalgamation. Schools.
Thank you, Councillor Chad. Not dissimilar to the previous report. This is a recommendation that we amalgamate Orchard Lee Infant and Orchard Lee Junior School in Fareham with effect from July 2028. So it's a slightly different time scale. The reason for the difference in time is that these two schools play into the government's, the DfE's school rebuilding programme, and there is work underway with the DfE to replace both of these schools. They share a site. They are 50 yards apart, a bit like the Penningtons, to replace both of these schools with a new single school. And we have agreed with the DfE that new single school will be a 2 FE primary school once complete. And what we're seeking to do here is align the amalgamation of the two schools with the completion of that work. So hence the 2028 date. That's when we expect the work to be finalised. So therefore we will amalgamate the two schools at that point. They are currently operating fundamentally as a primary school under a single head teacher and single leadership team across the two sites. So we believe that 2FE primary school secures the provision we need in the area going forward. We believe, because of the time we've got to conclude this work, that actually the staffing structure will be such by the time we get to 2028 there will be little or no need for any significant staffing changes, because they would have been done over the intervening years. It gives us a stable position in terms of the primary school on that site, with a solid foundation and solid future. So I'm not sure there's too much more to say there. It's the right thing to do. It supports the government's school rebuilding programme. It gives that community a brand new 2-form-entry primary school in due course.
Thank you, Richard. Absolutely agree with everything you said with this report. I haven't got any further questions on this one. I don't know if anyone else has on the call. No. So if I take us all to page 83, where the recommendations are, and it's sections 2 to 3, and I'm happy to approve both of those recommendations today. So thank you, Richard. I think you get a little bit of a rest now.
Thank you.
And we move on to short break activity grant recommendations 2025, and Sarah is going to present this report.
Thank you, Councillor Chad. Good afternoon, members. Good afternoon, colleagues. So the short breaks grant recommendation report is primarily that. Grants to support children and young people with a disability to access activities within their community. This will be for primarily holiday provision, but also youth and weekend provision. We have 4 key recommendations today, please, Councillor Chad. The first one is approving the recommendations for the grants of just under £247,000, please. This is for the period of 1st of September to 2025 to the 31st of March 2026. We are also seeking approval, please, for our grant to Hampshire Parent Carer Network. This is a participation grant where Hampshire Parent Carer Network support parents and carers in terms of co-production activity and to work with the Directorate on various different work streams. We are also seeking for an improvement to combine the smaller grant fund with the larger grant fund so that we just have one central grant budget that will sort of streamline processes and make it much easier for everybody and for providers as well. And finally, Councillor Chad, we're also seeking delegated authority, please, for the Director of Children's Services to be able to approve grant recommendations in consultation with yourself for the underspend. So we are looking at about an £80,000 underspend. So we would like to allocate that to enhance current provision, particularly over the school holidays. We're looking to target that for additional capacity. Thank you very much. Any comments or queries, colleagues?
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for a really thorough and really great report. It's really readable, actually, which is really good. And these short breaks are, are so important to the families that make use of them and the young people that do. I think it makes perfect sense that we amalgamate the two. The smaller grant and the larger grant as well, just to make that process far easier in the future, and really happy for that. But I don't know if any other members have any questions or comments on this one. Councillor Forster.
Yeah, just briefly, thank you, Councillor Chad. Feedback from all those who have been recipients of grant funding and used these services in the past has been exemplary. So it's really good to see this continue. And I'm particularly particularly pleased that we're using the previous underspend as well of £80,000. That's excellent use of that funding and hopefully will be put to good use.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if there's no other questions or comments, if I take you all to page 101, where we'll find the recommendations, and I'll take these en masse as well, at sections 2 to 5. I'm really happy to approve the recommendations in this report for our short break activity grants. So thank you very much, Sarah, for today. And I look forward to hearing what some of the children have been up to as well, please, with some of their activities.
I'm sure we could arrange some visits. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Brings us on to agenda item 6. And we're back with Richard for the consultation on the amalgamation of the Federation of Ryder Infant and Junior Schools with Park Community School.
Thank you, Councillor Chad. As you say, this is a report that seeks authority to open up an initial period of consultation, informal public consultation, on the proposal to amalgamate Ryder's Infant and Junior Schools, which are federated with Park Secondary School in Havant. If approved, take place.
Richard, I've lost you.
Sorry, is that better, Councillor Chad?
Yes, that is, yeah.
Sorry, my microphone is not the best on my device sometimes. And if I move away, I slightly fade out. So this would be approval for a 4-week period of consultation starting next week and run until the end of July. We would obviously then come back at a further date to seek authority to move into a period of statutory public consultation if that's felt that the outcome of the informal consultation takes us in that direction. This was at the request of the school's governing bodies. For some time now, the federations of Ryder's Infant have struggled in terms of numbers and finance. They are not, as things stand, they are not the school of choice in the area at primary. and we've done a lot of work with the schools and the leadership team to stabilise them, and we continue to put support into that school from a HIAS perspective through Natalie and her colleagues, because we've been unable to recruit ahead in the short term to the Federation because of the challenges they face and the experience that is needed. The other thing to bear in mind is that the infant school was the subject of an academy order. That academy order, due to a change in legislation following a change of government, was revoked. In part, there was no trust that could be found to take on the schools as well. So it was that point we entered into more formal dialogue with the schools to understand what our best options were going forward. And it was quite rightly felt that amalgamation of the 3 schools under the leadership of the secondary school was the best way forward. This would see us maintain primary provision on the infant and junior school site. So this is not about any change of location of provision. We would also seek to maintain the nursery provision that's on the infant and junior school site where it is. So this will be an informal period of consultation to get feedback and views from the local communities around this proposal.
Thank you, Richard. I think I'm going to go actually first of all to see if any members have any questions or comments on this one.
Yes.
I think what you've described makes absolute sense, and going to an informal consultation is the right thing to do, and then look at the outcome of that, and then ideally move into the statutory consultation in the later part of the year, ideally. I think this has the potential to really kind of support the community actually in going forward, and would be subject to the outcome, something to look at and to make a decision on. So if I take us to the recommendations, which is on page 121, and it's just the one in section 2, and I'm very happy to recommend that we commence a period of non-statutory consultation on the amalgamation of the schools.
Thank you, Councillor Chad.
Thank you, Richard. Then we go to agenda item 7, which was the appointments to outside bodies, area-based committees and panels, statutory joint committees and partnership boards. And Emma, you're going to present this one.
Thank you, Councillor Chad. Yeah, this is essentially just an appointments report that falls within your portfolio. It's a standard item that we bring regularly when vacancies arise on these organisations. So it's just to make some member appointments today, please.
Okay, I will get through these as quickly as I possibly can. So the first section that I'm going to do is the local interest it is local interest bodies that I'm doing first. So number 1, which is Andrews Endowed School, Hollybourne, I would like to appoint Councillor Andrew Joy to that one. Number 2, Ashford Hill Educational Trust, Councillor Derek Meller. Number 3, Lakes Educational Charity, Councillor Jonathan Williams to that one. Number 4, Bramshot Educational Trust, Councillor Debbie Kerno Ford. Number 5, Christie's Hospital School Foundation, Winchester, Councillor Jan Warwick. Number 6, East Boulder Education Charity, Councillor Keith Manns. Number 7, Eggers Grammar School Site Foundation, Alton, Councillor Andrew Joy and Councillor Mark Kemp G. Number 8, Farringdon and Newton Valence Playground Charity, Councillor Mark Kemp G. Number 9, Genesis Youth Centre Executive Committee, Councillor Michael Ford. Number 10, Hampshire Foundation for Young Musicians, Councillor Fran Carpenter. Number 11, Hampshire Scouts Board of Trustees, Councillor Adam Jackman. Number 12, Henville Education Foundation, Hamble, Councillor Keith House. Number 13, John Hanson School Awards Foundation, Councillor Christopher Donnelly, Councillor Kirsty North and Councillor Tom Thacker. Number 14, Mary Touche Charity, Councillor Malcolm Wallace. Number 15, Miss Gow's Education Foundation would be Councillor Phil North. Number 16, Herring's Educational Foundation, Councillor Jackie Porter. Number 17, Stratfordshire Educational Foundation, Councillor Ridian Vaughan. Number 18, I'm actually going to defer the decision on for Totton College Educational Forum, just as we wait for a nominated member for that one. Number 19, Upton Gray Educational Trust, Councillor Juliet Henderson. Number 20, Weald Education Trust, Councillor Mark Kemp G. And finally, number 21, which is William Price Charitable Trust, Councillor Peter Latham. That then moves me into the partnership bodies of the report, which is, so number 1 on those ones, which is the Hampshire Admissions Forum. I would like to appoint Councillor David Drew and Councillor Stephen Broomfield for that one. Number 2, Hampshire and Isle of Wight Community Foundation Board, Councillor Andrew Joy. Number 3, Hampshire and Isle of Wight Community Fund Advisory Board, Councillor Andrew Joy again. And I think that concludes a very long list of appointments.
Thank you very much. Yep,
No,
that's all of them.
Thank you, Emma. And then finally, for my agenda today, we've got the annual update to the statements of purpose for Hampshire's Children's Homes, Fostering and Adoption Service. And I believe Richard Hadley, yeah, there he is. Richard Hadley is going to present this report.
Thank you, Councillor Chan. Good afternoon, colleagues and councillors. So the purpose of this report is to present the annual update to the statements of purpose for Hampshire Children's Homes and our fostering and adoption services for approval. The Appendix A highlights the specific parts of the SOPs that have been revised since they were last presented for ease of reference, and they are exempt because they contain some details of staff names. So in terms of background, the Children's Home Regulations 2015 and the National Minimum Standards for Fostering and Adoption Services require that the local authority and the elected members formally approves the SOP of services and reviews, updates and modifies it where necessary. So in terms of our residential care, we provide 8 children's homes, offering places to children and young people between 10 and 17. And a further home has just successfully opened, Hockley House. So we have got our first young person in there, with others expected to come in the forthcoming weeks. The total capacity of the open homes is 30, and at the time of writing this report, 26 of the 30 beds were occupied. Also at the time of writing, homes were graded as good by Ofsted, apart from Berryview and Cypress Lodge, which were graded as requires improvement to be good, and Fern Lodge, which was graded as outstanding in January 2025. Both Berryview and Cypress Lodge had assurance visits following the inspections, and the inspectors were able to see improvements had been made through the action plans that we instigated. In terms of our secure children's home, Swanwick, the operating model for that has been sustained and built upon. Over the past 3 years, we've demonstrated the operating model has fulfilled its aims and provides further evidence that Swanwick can be a viable home which covers its costs. Quality of care in the home continues to be recognised, and in May 2024, the home was graded by Ofsted as outstanding. This year, the statements of purpose in the open children's homes have largely remained the same, apart from recording where managers have become registered and updating qualifications as referenced earlier in Appendix A. In terms of the fostering service, they use the SOPs as a competitive positioning tool, which benchmarks the local authority and independent services, and these can be seen in Appendix M. Prospective carers use the SOPs to compare services more easily by reviewing the aims of the service, understanding the processes, support and training we offer, and reading Ofsted report highlights. These should put Hampshire County Council in a more favourable position within the marketplace. Similarly, for the adoption service, the SOP sets out the core aims and objectives of the service, It explains the range of services that are provided to children, prospective adopters, adoptive parents, adopted adults and birth parents through the different strands of the adoption agency. The principles and standards within the SOP apply to all agency placements. It emphasises that the adoption service places on the welfare of Hampshire children who require adoptive placements and the importance of minimising delay and meeting our statutory timescales. The SOP, in conclusion, will drive the delivery of children's residential care and the fostering and adoption services during 2024-2025 and will be updated to reflect the development of services and needs throughout the forthcoming period. That's the key highlights, I think, Councillor Chad, unless there are specific questions for me.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for this report. Again, a really good, good read and a well-written report, and actually an easy read. I like the when they are really informative and easy to read. Really, really pleased to hear about Hockley House has now got its first occupant. That's really positive, and just that that whole concept of Hockley House is something that has never been done before, and it's attracting a lot of interest, which is really, really good, and it really will help and support the young people that go in there with the partnership with the NHS. Really positive news as well, actually, about Berryview and Cypress Lodge, that actually the improvements are being seen, and that we've had feedback that that's going in the right direction as well. So really, really happy with that, and really pleased that Swanwick is doing what it does best and helping and supporting our young, some of the most at-risk young people in society, and really working hard for those young people. So really, really positive in that respect. I don't know if anyone else has any questions or comments on this report at all. No. So I will take us to page 153 of the pack and to section 2 for the recommendation, and I'm happy to approve the recommendation there. Thank you again, Richard, so much for today. And it's really good to know that actually what's happening and how well our children's homes and our fostering and adoption services are doing. So thank you so much. That finishes my decision day for today. So I'm going to hand over to Councillor Forster, the Executive Lead Member for Education.
Thank you, Councillor Chad, and good afternoon, everyone. Officers, thank you for the work so far. 2 items on my agenda for today. We start with, in fact, both of them are with Natalie Smith, I think, to present. The first one is item 9, additional specialist provision, new expanding resource provision. Natalie, over to you.
Thank you, Councillor Forster. With perfect timing, my doorbell just rang, so apologies for that. The purpose of the first part of the report is to request approval to undertake informal and non-statutory consultation on the establishment of a resource provision for 15 pupils aged 11 to 16 with autistic spectrum conditions needs at Harroway Community School, Andover, opening in phases from September 2026. So the proposal requires additional specific classroom space, and the proposal is to install a double modular classroom to accommodate the mainstream curriculum classes and to create the resource provision in current classroom spaces within the main school building. The second set of proposals are asking to seek to undertake statutory consultations and the publication of public notices for a range of resourced provisions, which I will go through one at a time now. So the first proposal is the establishment of a resource provision at Applemore College for pupils with autism. The proposal is that an additional 15 pupils are accommodated, opening in phases from September 2025. The school proposes to utilise existing surplus accommodation to become the base for the resource provision, with only minor adjustments. Safeguarding measures, IT and furniture will also be required. The capital costs are estimated to be in the region of 30,000 and are included in the Children's Services Capital Programme report to the Executive Lead Member, which you have just been presented this June. The second proposal is for the establishment of a resource provision at the Wavell School in Aldershot for pupils with social, emotional and mental health needs. The Wavell School currently operates a resource provision for pupils with specific learning difficulties, and the leadership, together with the local authority, proposed to add a resource provision for up to 15 pupils with social, emotional and mental health needs, opening in phases from September 2025. The school will require additional classroom spaces for the base for the resource provision. It is anticipated this will require a double modular classroom to be installed together in summer 2026 with appropriate furniture and IT. Existing spaces within the main school building can accommodate the first placed pupils until this time. Next, we are looking at the expansion of a resourced provision number of places at Horndean Technology College for pupils with autism. The school currently operates an autism resource provision for 17 pupils, and the proposal is to increase the numbers by 4 places from 17 to 21 from September 2025, and there will be no capital costs associated with this proposal. The expansion of the resource provision places at the Federation of Wildground Infant and Junior Schools comes next for pupils with autism. The Federation currently operates 2 resource provisions across both schools, an 8-place social, emotional and mental health resource provision and an 8-place autistic spectrum condition resource provision. The proposal is to meet the growing need in that area by increasing the numbers in the autism resource provision by 8 places. So it goes from 8 to 16 for September 2025. The places initially being available in the infant school, and it's proposed to use existing surplus accommodation to become the base for the increased resource provision. Only minor adjustments will be required. The cost will be included in the capital report that has just been shared with executive lead members. Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Forster, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you. 2 screens, didn't see that. Apologies. Do any members have any questions on these items? I'm really pleased to see these 57 additional places coming forward, early stage with the non-statutory and statutory consultations. They will come forward further over coming meetings. I'm happy to take the recommendations as listed on page 476, recommendations 3, 4 and 5 altogether, and to approve those as detailed. Thank you for the work that has gone into these so far. A lot more work to be delivered. That brings us on to the last item on today's decision day agenda, which is item 11, additional specialist provision, RP final approval. Natalie.
Thank you, Councillor Forster. The purpose of this report is to provide feedback from the statutory public notice consultation period and request final approval for the establishment of a resourced provision for 10 pupils aged 4 to 11 with autistic spectrum condition at Newtown Church of England voluntary controlled primary school, opening in phases from September 2025, and the expansion of resourced provision places at Ashley Infant School, New Milton, from 24 to 32, and a change of designation from severe learning difficulties to provide 15 autistic spectrum condition places and 17 speech, language and communication places for pupils aged 4 to 7 from September 2025. In response to the consultations, we had, and we have now moved to paragraph 32, for the Newtown Church of England proposal, there were 2 comments received supporting the proposal. One asked for further detail on the process of placements into the provision, and one raised concerns about the school's ability to accommodate a resource provision. In response to this, the process for admissions was detailed, and concerns that were shared with the senior leadership of the school were able to be responded to by that team, and that is in the appendix of the documents. They were able to explain also that there is a process and criteria that Hampshire County Council conducts when working with schools on establishing resource provision, and were also able to explain the benefits that resource provisions can bring to the wider school. In terms of the consultation to the resourced provision proposal at Ashley Infant School, there was 1 comment received, and that was a positive comment. Thank you very much. Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Natalie. Very positive to get the support responses, and I'm pleased the concern has been responded to satisfactorily. That's really encouraging. This is another 18 additional places plus the redesignation, which I think it'll be very good to see. I note between this and the previous item, we're pretty much covering the whole of Hampshire, right from the north, with Wavell up in Aldershot, right to the south. So it's good that we are covering all the geography of what is a very large county. Do any members have any questions or comments on this item, please? No? Okay, on that basis, I will take the recommendations as listed on page 515 and 516 in recommendation number 2, and I will take those and fully approve those as detailed. Natalie, I'd like to thank you and all the others who were involved in all the preparatory work for this today, and everyone for attending this decision day meeting. Thank you once again to Councillor Chad. So I'll bring the meeting to a close. If I can ask for the recording to be stopped, if you can confirm once that's done, please.